Hi guys, welcome back to another day of listening and learning. Today we are going to continue our stories on the Greek civilization. Today our story is Thermopylae, the Persians strike again. So before we get started, let's do a little review. Remember, why did the Athenian generals send Phidippides to Sparta? Do you remember why he sent Phidippides to Sparta? Good job. To find the best fighters. Good job. After the battle, what tribute was paid to Phidippides? Remember? Well, they named their long races in honor of him Marathon, from running from Marathon to Athens to spread the good news that they had won the battle. Okay? So today we are going to read a story again about another place, Thermopylae. Let's get ready. So in our story, we are going to be listening and hearing about Thermopylae, the Persians strike again. So what do you think that title means? Why are the Persians striking again? And will it be the same or different than the battle at Marathon? Listen carefully to find out if the predictions are correct. King Darius of Persia failed to conquer Greece and died not long after the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon. Darius' son Xerxes became the king of Persia. His anger at the Greeks for defeating his father worked inside him until he could no longer stand it. 10 years after Marathon, King Xerxes set planning how Persia would attack Greece again. This time, he thought Persia will have so many soldiers and ships that it will not fail. Xerxes gathered tens of thousands of soldiers led by his finest troops. Even Xerxes, however, did not have enough ships to carry that many men to Greece by sea. We will go over land from Asia and down into Greece, he commanded. So why do you think King Xerxes wanted Persia to fight the Greeks again? Let's find out. This meant that the Persians would have to cross a mile-wide channel of water that lay between Asia and northern Greece. A small channel is a small path where ships can sail through. Xerxes told his navy captains, "We will cross the channel on an enormous floating bridge, spreading out our ships in rows and tie them together. Then lay wooden platforms across the spaces between the ships over which my army can pass." Xerxes' vast army succeeded in crossing the decks of 600 ships and moving into Greece. There they faced another difficulty: Greece's high mountains. To avoid having to travel over these mountains, Xerxes led his army south along a narrow strip of dry land near the eastern coast of Greece called Thermopylae. At the other end of this narrow pass, the Greeks were waiting for him. The Greeks knew that Xerxes' army could not spread out to its full width to attack here, for there simply was not enough room in the narrow space between the mountains and the ocean. Instead, here a smaller army might have a chance to win. Now, which is the smaller army, the Persians or the Greeks? We're going to find out. Let's see. With most of the city-states working together, the Greeks had sent 10,000 men to block the Persian march. Led by the Spartan king Leonidas, the Greeks took up position across the full width of Thermopylae. Leonidas told his soldiers, "The longer we can hold the Persians here, the more time it gives the other Greeks to prepare for battle." With the fate of their families always in their mind, Leonidas and his soldiers waited. Leonidas knew that further south an Athenian leader named Themistocles was rushing to draw together a fleet of navy ships. Themistocles was sure that the war would be won at sea, for as he had told the other Greeks, the Persians may force their way into Greece, but Xerxes cannot keep bringing food and other supplies to his men here by land. It takes too long. So if we control the sea, the Persians will eventually have to go home. Leonidas and his Spartan soldiers had to hold Xerxes at Thermopylae long enough for the Athenian fleet to get into position. Soon the Persians reached the place where the Greeks blocked the pass. Xerxes sent a message to the Greeks warning them to surrender and ask for mercy. He wrote, "I command so many archers that their attack of arrows will block out the sun above you." To this, one of the Spartans jokingly answered, "Fine, we prefer to fight in the shade anyway." After waiting for 4 days for the Greeks to surrender, the furious King Xerxes gave word to his Persian armies to attack. However, just as the Greeks had predicted, only a small number of Persians could fit into the narrow pass at once, so their great numbers did not help them. Leonidas and the Greeks drove back one attack after another. Then one of the Persian officers said to Xerxes, "O great king, a Greek who lives near us offers to lead us to the Greeks through another pass in the mountains, if you will pay him enough gold." Xerxes smiled grimly. "Good. Have him lead half of our men along this other path, so that we can come out behind the Greeks." The Persians began to move back so that they could take the other route. But Leonidas of Sparta saw what was happening. Quickly meeting the other Greek leaders, he commanded, "Take your men safely away from here. I will remain behind with 300 of my best Spartan fighters and will force the Persians to take the other longer way around. But this was very dangerous for you and your 300 men," another officer protested. "Once the Persians come through the other pass, they will circle around and attack you from behind. You will be caught between two Persian forces." Leonidas turned to one of the Spartan soldiers. "What do you think?" His friend shrugged. "We are Spartans," he said. And that was all. It was enough. Leonidas told the other Greeks, "There is your answer. We will stay." So the rest of the Greek army quickly retreated, which means they left out near the narrow pass as the 300 Spartans spread out across the area. When they were in position, Leonidas told them, "Let us fight in such a way that forever after all Persians will speak of us in amazement and all Greeks in words of pride." Together, the Spartans bravely fought as long as they could. But in the end, the Persians defeated the Spartans and continued on. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans were still remembered more than 2,000 years later for their heroism for fighting against such a large army. These Greeks were able to hold the Persians at the pass long enough for other Greek forces to prepare for battle. This famous act of courage by the Spartans became known as the last stand at Thermopylae. Soon the Persians continued south and reached Athens. To their shock, they found the city nearly deserted, which means it was nearly empty. Meanwhile, Themistocles, the Athenian navy commander, had moved all of the Greeks to nearby areas, including an island called Salamis. When Xerxes realized this, he sent his navy from Persia, "Sail over here and attack Salamis," he ordered. But this was exactly what the clever Themistocles had counted on. He had hidden the Greek navy in the bay and harbors that lay between Salamis and Athens on the Greek mainlands. As the mountains passed at Thermopylae, the greater Persian numbers could not help Xerxes in the narrow neck of water. When the Persian ships approached, Themistocles signaled to his ship's captains, "Attack!" From their hiding places, the smaller, faster Greek ships surprised the Persians. The larger Persian ships jammed together in the narrow waters, could not turn around to defend themselves. Using metal battering rams attached to the bow of their ships, the Greeks smashed into the helpless Persian ships. One after another, the Persian vessels sank. Those few that did not sink sailed away, broken and battered. The Greek victory at Salamis was complete. King Xerxes realized, we cannot stay here if we cannot count on our ships to bring us food, medicine, and other more soldiers from Persia. Finally, the Persians left Greece. There would be only one more land battle the following year, which was won by the Greeks, but nothing compared to the heroic stand by the Greeks at Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. Finally, the Persian threat was over forever, and stories of these Greek victories would be told again and again for years to come. Good job. All right. Were your predictions about whether the outcome would be the same or different correct? Were they? Why or why not? Now, what obstacles or difficulties did the Persian armies face? Remember we talked about the channel of water? They had to cross a channel of water using a ship bridge and also cross Greece's high mountains. Lastly, when did the Persian threat to Greece finally end? After their defeat at the Battle of Thermopylae and Salamis, and after they ran out of supplies, the Persians left Greece. All right, now good job listening and answering our questions. Now I want you to stand up, wiggle out, wiggle out, wiggle out, and we are going to do some Simon Says, all right? So I want you, when I say Simon Says, touch your nose, you're going to do what? Touch your nose, all right? Now, if I do not say Simon Say, then you will not do that action. Like if I say, bend over and touch your toes. Are you going to bend over and touch your toes? No. You're going to wait until I say, Simon Says. All right, let's get ready. So, Simon says, run in place. Run just like in Sparta. Run, run, just like you're running for the marathon. Run, faster, faster, faster. Now stop. Did you stop? Did I say Simon says stop? Simon says stop. Jump 3 times. Are you jumping? Did I say Simon says? No. All right. Simon says, act like you're climbing a hill, like you're climbing Mount Olympus, like you're going up, you want to go see Zeus, the father of the gods, and Hera, the queen of the gods. You're climbing the mountain. Simon says, stop. Now, guess what? Simon says, wiggle it out, wiggle it out, wiggle it out. And we're going to get back to our lesson. All right, guys, we're going to get back to learning. We're going to do our word. Our word for today is prefer. In our story, it says, fine, we prefer to fight in the shade anyway. Well, what does prefer mean? Prefer means to choose or like something more than something else. So, some people prefer to walk to school rather than ride the bus. Now it's your turn. What is our word today? Prefer. Say it with me. Prefer. So, think of things you prefer more than others. I prefer rather than. For me, I prefer ice cream rather than cake. I love ice cream. So, let's do a sharing activity, which means you can find anybody to share these things with. So, think of some things you prefer over others. Keep in mind that everyone has different ideas about things they prefer, and that may determine why you would select one thing over another and why your answer might be different than someone else's. So, you may prefer the color blue. Your classmate or friend may prefer the color red. What do you prefer? Think about it. Share it with someone. Tell them you learned a new word, and that word is prefer. All right. Until next time, guys, we had such a wonderful time. And remember, we're going to come back and learn more about the Greek civilization. Till next time, have fun. Bye.